I divide the types of watercolor into 3 categories. There's super transparent, which is like normal watercolor, like even kids watercolor, just super transparent. And then there's semi-transparent, and then there's opaque. I use Fabiano paper, and it's really thick and nice and easy, and you can't go wrong with it. So super transparent are these hydrated watercolors. And, they have all these great colors, and they don't as much match other watercolors in the sense that you have like funky names like Scarlet, but this would be the equivalent of, for example, Rose Madder. They're super vibrant and bright. And this is my favorite for the first layer. I keep a little porcelain tray on my work table out at all times, just so that I can easily just say, okay, I'm going to start. I like to establish a place in the middle of the paper that's not to the very edge. I like edges, and I could write a whole book about edges. So I just want to have sometimes the underneath leak underneath what I'm painting, but it's sort of like a way of me saying, okay, this is the frame. And like it gives it a white frame. And then, by the way, when you go to frame it, if you don't want to matte it, it kind of already has a matte. That's art. By the way, this is Dr. P.H. Martin's, and do you see saddle brown? What's really cool about this particular one, if you're doing skin or flesh tone, is that this separates like red and green. So it almost paints for you, like it just sort of becomes a pattern of red and green together, but it's like ultimately brown, like a skin color, if you add water to it, and you can alter to the degree to which how light it is. Now, let me tell you my new love, which is Gansai Tambi. They have just beautiful arrangements of color. It's probably kind of like, is it Kylie Jenner? It's like one of the Kardashians, like, you have palettes, like they go for these cool, crazy. And so like, no matter what you paint, it's always going to look great, but it does have a somewhat of a sheen to it, and it's semi-opaque. So the more water you add, the more see-through is, the less you add, the more opaque you're going to get, but it's not going to be full opaque. But this is great for the middle layers. I just want to show you that sheen. That is the Gansai Tambi. Where is that? Here's an even bigger set. It dries so fast, I'm really free with it. Okay, so that's Gansai Tambi. Another thing that's great for the middle layers is, this is another love. This is made with wax. This is a relatively new medium, and it's called Ceracolors. And it's available at Natural Pigments. And this is like another thing I keep out all the time. And this just gives a really beautiful matte cover, and you get really great coverage. I'll show you an example. This, for example, is made with Ceracolors at the top. You see how this doesn't have a shine to it? You see that? It just seems really flat. This is for the opaque layer on top of the watery layer. So Ceracolors is semi-opaque and opaque. And then I'm super excited to tell you about this new opaque watercolor that I discovered that is really, really opaque. It's basically like gouache, and it's Fuumuui. It's sort of a strange palette because it's a little gray, but I was just experimenting with it. It's completely opaque. It totally covers what's underneath it. And I'm like, oh, I'm in love. You can go crazy with brushes. Like I use makeup holders, these acrylic things you can get on Amazon, or like a cup. It's so much fun, and it's such a great way to plan bigger paintings. Remember that the only difference between a watercolor brush and a oil brush is that the handle is shorter, so it doesn't poke you in the eye when you're painting, and you want hair, not bristle. So they're going to be a little bit more expensive, but you can use synthetic is fine. So whereas oil painting, you're painting light over dark, with watercolor, you're painting dark over light. There's like a whole army of watercolorists who were super, super tight. And those are the ones that paint dark over light because they have to be. They have to be so protective of the white on the paper in order to like make sure it stays clean. But I don't paint like that. I paint exactly the paint of oil. I do like a loose, muddy wash on the bottom, and then I kind of like get in the outlines of the big shapes first, and it's almost like I'm watching a Polaroid develop. The details emerge later, so you do the details last, but you're doing light over dark, not dark over light. I've really learned so much about oil painting from painting with water media because you don't have as much control and it forces you to be loose. Every month when we meet, I show a slideshow of these images, which are the equivalent of like a writer's prompt. So, and we show the layers of how it got there, and we just one by one build on them over time, and they've just come out gorgeous. And if you need instructions on where to go, go to kimberlybrooks.com/live. It's become a really wonderful thing in a small community, so I hope to see you at the next live session.